who sits on Donald Trump's Donald Trump for President Advisory Board that was formed last month. He's also the author of The Trump Factor, Unblocking the Secrets Behind the Trump Empire.
Brad, many people, the Trump Organization, I know we hear from Eric and Don Jr., touting President Trump's business expertise. They look to the stock market and his relationship with business leaders. On the rumor that Gary Cohn could be leaving the White House after President Trump's remarks, the stock market is dropping. Business leaders across industries have said, mercy, we're out. So where's the selling point for President Trump now?
Sure. Well, thanks for letting me be on the show. And first off, my thoughts and prayers go out to Heather Heyer's family, the two troopers that passed, as well as the people who were injured in Charlottesville. And thanks for having me on the show. So as far as, what's going on, again, I spent 4 years with President Trump before he ran for the office. So I've got a lot of insight around him in the business world. And today, some of these comments I'm seeing yesterday with these CEOs who have departed from this economic board, it's really amazing. I mean, the market is actually doing very, very well, up 10% year to date.
Sir,
million jobs have been created.
At this moment, this morning, the market's dropping on rumors that the president's economic advisor, Gary Cohn, could quit.
Look, I'm not a market timer. I'm a value investor, and most people should be value investors, frankly. And so when I look at the long term, the number one catalyst that nobody's going to talk about, especially your show and others like this, is the number one catalyst is the corporate tax. This is the market mover.
If I was a CEO,
Brad, hold on a second. Brad, hold on.
Yes.
You're talking to two financial journalists, right? I don't know if you were going to bring this up, so I don't have the chart ready, but we always put it on. I can find it and I can tweet it out to you. This market started going up on March 9th, 2009, and if you have a ruler, it's a pretty much straight line from there to now. So there's nothing Donald Trump has done to cause the market to be where it is right now.
And President Trump would like tax reform to get it done, but those who are working on it have said the president is doing nothing to advance that agenda. And look at those CEOs that are on that council who walked away from
Stephanie,
him.
I want him to answer my question, because you guys keep peddling this myth that Donald Trump is responsible for this market. You are a market guy. You have seen the S&P 500 since March 9th, 2009, right?
Absolutely.
So do you give Barack Obama credit for all of the stuff that happened from March 9th, 2009 to January 20th, 2017?
The number one driver of this
Answer the question,
market,
Brad. Answer the question, Brad.
And what is the question?
Do you give Barack Obama the credit for all the stuff that happened from March 9th, 2009 to January 20th, 2017? Because if you do that, then you realize it's not Donald Trump.
Look, right now, the commander-in-chief is Donald J. Trump. And in terms of the market mover, what's going to actually move this market, and what we're seeing now is job creation. President Trump has created over 1 million jobs.
Oh, my goodness. Brad, stop it. For heaven's sake. You know that in the last 6 months of 2016, there were more jobs created. In the first 6 months of 2016, in the last 6 months of 2015, first 6 months of 2015, last 6 months of 2000. I mean, I can just keep on going. Donald Trump's not even close to being the largest job creator in the first 6 months of his presidency. There are 4 recent presidents who do better than him. Why do you continue to say these things?
Brad, yesterday, Steve Schwarzman walked away from working with the president. 3 months ago, Steve Schwarzman raised $40 billion of permanent capital for an infrastructure fund out of the Saudi royal family. And yesterday, he said, peace out.
Yeah. Look, I used to be a real estate developer for 20 years. I know all about infrastructure. I know about time delays. And time means money. Again, as a shopping center developer in my previous life, this is what I did. I don't know what you did, but I've got a long background in business. And I understand the announcement this week on infrastructure, the cost-cutting measures that are now coming in place is going to stimulate this economy and create jobs, jobs for everybody, all races, everybody. And that's really what's important. And again, I think that's the most important part of this that again, the mainstream media really doesn't recognize is this job. He was hired. I hired him. I doubled down on the President of the United States because I believe in him. You know, I started writing this book 4 years ago. Nobody knew he was going to run for president, but I've doubled down on this. I believe he can make America great, and we're already seeing that now.
So how do we believe that,
you could ignore these catalysts, but they're there.
No, but Brad, I've given you evidence, Brad. I've given you evidence that the job creation is not as good under President Trump as it was under President Obama. Obama, President Bush, President Clinton in the first 6 months of their office. I've given you evidence that stock market performance was better under President Obama, and this is a continuation. But you just deny it, and you go on to say other things. So let's talk about infrastructure, because I can go down this road with you as well. What exactly about infrastructure, of which we need $1 trillion of investment, on which we are given a D+ rating by the American Society of Civil Engineers, what about infrastructure requiring public-private partnerships is helped by an executive order about permitting? That is just simplistic. You know that.
There is no infrastructure bill.
Look, it's just very complicated. And again, I know this is not your background, so it may be harder for you to understand.
What are you talking about, Brad?
It is far more our background than it is yours.
Brad, I spent 14 years in investment banking.
You can't just lie on TV, Brad. You can't just lie on TV. You actually, I don't know if your people told you who you were coming on TV with, but you can't lie about the economy to us.
I'm not lying about the economy, and the market's speaking for itself. And again, I'm telling you, the #1 catalyst that will move this market is corporate tax. That is it. And again, this is the #1 piece. A rising tide lifts.
And what leads you to believe
that is?
What leads you to believe we're going to have corporate tax reform? Because in order to do so, the president would need to be working with GOP leadership. And last I checked, he's donkey kicking them on Twitter.
I wouldn't believe that at all. I mean, I certainly, there's a lot of people working hard, extremely hard, including myself, to initiate this corporate tax plan. This is an incredible big piece of this agenda, and that is absolutely the piece that's going to stimulate this economy. I'm amazed to see those CEOs that walked away. If I were a publicly traded CEO today, and I've watched my shares of my company generate the gains that we've seen since January 1st, I would be amazed, especially because we haven't even been talking about this catalyst, because the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about it. So that's what I'm here today talking about.
Ali and I talk about it.
I mean,
Ali and I talk about it all the time.
You should fire your press person, because if they didn't tell you that you were coming on TV with Velshi and Rule, who I think collectively, I don't want to give away Stephanie's age, but between the two of us, we've been doing this for about 50 years. Okay, so let's this is just a silly conversation to have with us. You should go to other people's media and say these things, but not to us. And we cover this every day in and out, and the fact is those CEOs got pressure from their shareholders, from their boards, from their employees, and from their customers to say we can't stand next to this president who is embracing neo-Nazis. How is that good for business?
One more moment. And Richard Trumka said this council that we're on, we don't ever meet. We don't do anything. I spoke to CEOs who said all it is a photo opportunity. There is nothing happening at these council meetings.
You know, and again, I think that, as I said earlier, I think the most important, significant piece of this is job creation. I'm going to stay on that. I think most CEOs should stay in their lane, do what they do best. And I think with Donald Trump, that's what he's doing. The business piece is his lane. He's staying in it. Job growth is absolutely critical. That corporate tax plan is going to stimulate this economy. All of these CEOs who walked away, they're going to be really happy when they start job creation and the wealth creation in this country. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But again, I'm reflecting on what he's done year to date since he's been in office. The market has obviously reflected those results. And again, more job creation. You can't argue with the 1 million jobs that's been created.
We can't argue with it. But again, that job creation is on target. It is lower than the job creation we saw in the same time period last year.
And in the last 6 months before it. Like it's lower. I just don't know. I mean, I've gained about 3 pounds in the last week. I'm just not bragging about it, because it actually seems to be the wrong thing to brag about.
I just want to invite you back on. In 6.5 weeks, the White House said they're going to have a tax reform bill. I spoke to people inside the White House yesterday working on that, and they said there is no chance that is going to happen, especially since the president isn't helping them do that. But in 6.5 weeks, we'd love to have you back on to discuss it.
Well, I'd hope you'd invite me back every week. I'm here for you, and thanks so much.
Okay, we will.
For
but
being
then
on today.
Can you watch some of our shows?